a leek, an egg, and a sock. What do these three things have in common? Stay with me today and you'll find out what. Hi, my name is Renee Sosana Olson. I am a key bearer and a torch bearer for the Covenant of Hecate. I'm also the founder of the Sanctuary of Hecate Bremo, and this is my channel, By Her Fires. All things Hecate, as well as including some energies from other deities that I try to mirror, and this is Anubis and Thoth. So what do those three things have in common? Today we're reframing an ancient practice called Hecate's Deipnon. I'm going to show you how I take this 2,500-year-old model and turn it into real world actions, things that you can do every day. So this coming Wednesday is going to be the dark moon. And if you're watching this out of order, I apologize. You can assert this to whatever dark moon you happen to be approaching. So the dark moon is, or the Deipnon, is the last day of the lunar month. It's a time for purification. Traditional menu items that were supplied in this Deipnon or supper, this last meal, were things like leeks, garlic, eggs. This was put together as an offering to the goddess and left at the crossroads. And then a lot of times, most of those offerings we know were taken by the poor, and it's historically referenced in a few books, which I'll get to later. To me, Hecate's energy is mirrored when the vulnerable are fed, right? To me, that's just an inner, and I do have a personal stake in this because as a child, our family was not rich. There were times when I went to bed hungry, cold. I remember turning on a clothes dryer in my room in order to stay warm because we didn't have any heat. So to me, when I think about those who have without, I can directly relate to that. And helping people to have access to food, to care, is one of the things that I really hold dear. So during this dark moon energy, this is the time when I look to make my weekly trips, or I'm sorry, not weekly, monthly trips to the Blessing Box and stock it up with food, clothing, and when I say clothing, I mean like socks and gloves and hats, that kind of thing, that someone who is unhoused might not have. I also look to Thoth and Anubis during this time, as Thoth is being ascribed to the lunar cycles, and then Anubis as the opener of the ways, or who guides through darkness, much like they're all really associated with those liminal spaces. So I really believe that the modern crossroads, right? When we think about the modern crossroads, that's going to be where these blessing boxes are set up. So throughout our county, they're typically set up around areas that tend to be a crossroads. And they're made available for anyone, right? You don't have to be unhoused to access this content. This is just for anyone who needs that in their life right now. And they can also, if you have extra, you can donate it. If you're, some of the things that I do is like protein shakes and socks and gloves and toothpaste and all those sorts of things. And that Deipnon, that meal, to me, while used as a cleaning space, like they'll make sure everything's cleaned up and the space is open and ready. To me, that is exactly what we need today, right? We don't need to take a bunch of food and throw it at the crossroads when there are people who are hungry. We don't need to go outside and scrape off our kitchen scraps and call it an offering. We can sit all day long next to our candles and burn our incense, but until we actually put our feet to the pavement and move forward and do some sort of action, this means nothing, right? They're across all Abrahamic religions as well as pagan, religions, mythology, Native American, whatever pantheon you're choosing to follow. If you only sit in front of a statue and you do nothing else, those prayers mean nothing, right? And I think that's where we get that whole eye roll whenever you hear thoughts and prayers, because typically that's something that someone says and they move on. They type it in a comment on Facebook, or they'll thank you for your service, but they don't actually do anything. I think it's important to note that we need to actually get up off of our tush and do something in order to actually make real change. I went off on a tangent there. That's going to happen, as you know. So what I do is, as well as from my own pocket, I purchased a blessing box. I raise money. I create things. Something like these little boxes. I create things and I sell them on my website in order to raise money to help stock these boxes. And to me, that is probably one of the best offerings that you can do. And I challenge you in your area, if you don't have something like this to help give back, you could always create something yourself. But luckily in my area, we already have something set up. I was able to get in there, set up a box, and begin helping the people in my area. So the next thing I want to talk about is where do we get our history about Deipnon, right? So I've got a few books here. I'm just going to lift up. So here they are, right? So we've got the Greek Magical Papyri, which is going to give you lots of information about Hecate. Then we're going to look at Hecate Solteira. This is a great book. You can go in here and learn all sorts of things. It is on a more, I want to say it's more related to like a college class than a story. So it's written with lots of footnotes. The Chaldean Oracles. This is a great translation. It'll also give you information about Hecate. This one, the Polytheism, Household Worship. This book is great for learning exactly how to set up. If you're someone who wants to follow a very traditional Hellenic ritual or a practice, this book is going to be key for that. There's sections in here, and I'll just hold this up. There's sections in here that are specifically related to Hecate, and will give you things like, offerings and colors and sacred animals and so forth. As well as back here, which I found was very great. Very great. What kind of word is that? Sometimes I just say things. Let's see. What did I want to share? So here's an invocation of Helios and Hecate that I found very interesting. It says, Lord Helios, sacred fire, O spear of Enodia, which she wields as she journeys to Olympus, and while traveling amongst the sacred crossroads of the earth, she who is crowned with oaken wreaths, with coils of serpents, bless on this last day of the month the offering which I have prepared for the venerable ancestors, and keep us away from evil. So to me, right, this is telling us to leave our offerings for the ancestors. I tend to do those types of offerings around Samhain. For me, it's just when I feel like the new year begins, and it's when I want to feed the souls of the departed. I do leave those offerings out on my property and around the sanctuary, but I still make those donations and take that bag of apples up to the blessing box and put them there. Another one in here is a prayer to Hecate. And this one is, I call upon Hecate Cathonia, the saffron-robed, who cares for the soul of the dead, queen and key-bearer of the whole world. Catera Hecate Parenthia, almighty, maiden Enodia of the wayside. O goddess, may you lead the soul, and then you state the name, on the illuminated path of the gods. So I thought that's a very nice ritual that or prayer that I've used. So that's this book. And then the next one is Sarita's Circle for Hecate. This is volume 1. I understand she is working on volume 2. This book is a fantastic entry. And I'm not saying that just because I'm credited in the book, but it is a fantastic entry-level book that will help you with the basics of understanding Hecate, understanding some of the misconceptions about her, like she's not a crone, that sort of thing. There's a list of assorted materials that are referenced for her. So here we can see there's a reference to the ibis, and of course the constellation page. There's images, there's spells for the restless dead, herbs and plants associated with her. So this is a great entry-level book. It'll also talk to you about moon magic. It'll give you some entries or some visualization into how she is associated with things like the Statue of Liberty. So I thought this was a very informative book, and I highly recommend it. And Sarita, Volume 2, we're waiting. Okay, and finally, I wanted to talk about this book specifically because I've tried to find The Rotting Goddess on assorted bookstores and such, and it is crazy expensive. So for those who are not aware, in this book, and I picked it up specifically because of this in the background, it says, if you're a girl, you probably need to read this book. It might prove useful. I mean, right? Who doesn't want to read that? But inside this book, Devil Girls of Ancient Rome, in the back is a copy of Rotting Goddess. I was really floored when I found this in here. It's actually the book. And there's, assorted imagery about the goddess, as well as working specifically with her in the moon or around the moon. The dark moon, I should say. I've got a couple of placeholders here to help me find what I was looking for. So this is one of the references to the Greek magical papyri that's in this book, and this is the Rotting Goddess. This is section 2 of the Devil, and it says, Hecate, mistress of the night and the underground realms, holy black clad, you are the moon that waxes till it tugs at the world, revolving the space among the stars. It is you who produced every physical thing. You engendered everything on earth, everything in the sea, and all the different races of flying and nesting birds. Mother of all, who gave birth to Cupid, you are Aphrodite, the lampshell Selene, shining and aglow. So this was very interesting to me that it had references to those. And then, as we know, she's a maiden, so this reference says give birth to, and I think perhaps maybe this is in a metaphorical sense versus an actual physical sense. But yeah, this is one of the more interesting things in this book. I highly recommend it. There's some spells in here from the papyri as well that make it a little easier to read than the actual Greek magical papyri. So that's this book, which I highly recommend as well. If you're looking for books on, which I don't have with me, there's a book called The Gods of Ancient Egypt, which can give you more information on Thoth as the measurer of time, and Anubis as like a guardian of dark paths, which again would kind of walk hand in hand with Hecate. All right, so that's to talk about the Deipnon, right? What are you doing for the Deipnon? How do you, I don't want to say celebrate, because it's not really a celebration. It's more of, to me, it's more of a duty. It's more of a, this is what I need to do to give back. So how do you do that? What do you do on the Deipnon? Do you prepare a meal? Do you actually create a meal and set it out? Do you volunteer at a soup kitchen? What do you do to help bring in that energy, or to acknowledge the dark moon? So now we're going to go to a reading. I'm going to pull 3 cards from the Crossroads Oracle. Let's do Crossroads today. All right. Don't forget your hair magic. We are going to pull 3 cards. Typically I do past, present, and future, but you can certainly look at these cards and pull them as you see fit, or think about them in a way that answers the questions you have to ask, and the questions you want answers to. So this first card, let me just straighten it up a little bit. This first card is the Sanctuary card. And the key words for sanctuary card are safety, solitude, and reflection. So when we think about this card, I would be pulling it in past, present, future. So when I'm asking myself is I'm looking back. I'm looking back at where I needed or where I wanted safety, solitude, or reflection. What are the things that I need? Now, I would like this to be an evergreen video, but you know, look at the state of our world right now. I could probably say that during any time period, but for me, as a member of LGBT, as a member of a non-Abrahamic religion, as a woman, as where I am, the voice that I have currently, yeah, we are looking for that sanctuary. We were looking for that place in order to have safety and just to be able to reflect on that. It's a lot. So take a moment, breathe, bring yourself back into that place, that safe place that you need to be, and understand that you are supported and you are welcomed and you are an amazing person just the way you are. So that's our first card. Now we're going to go to our next card, which is Hecate Alchemos. So I'm going to hold that up. I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I do not speak Greek, and some of these words are a bit much for my southern palate. So I'll do the best I can. This keywords on this are strength, power, and bravery. So I'm going to hold that up for you so you can have a look and visualize that card. And when we talk about strength, power, and bravery, we're not talking about running out into some area, guns ablazing. What we're talking about is being able to stand up for what you believe in, even when you are afraid, even when it's a challenge, even when it's not the popular decision. You need to be that voice, be that strength that comes through and say, listen, it's not okay what's happening right now. It's not okay to treat people this way. It's not okay to judge people based on the color of their skin or what deity they follow. That's not okay. We need to treat each other with kindness and compassion and understanding. This card reminds us to be brave and have that strength of focus and that strength of character in order to be able to walk with our head up high. One of the greatest things I ever remember hearing was, at the end of the day, can you sign your name to today and say, I did the best that I could do. I did the very best. I put my best foot forward, and I'm going to try to do that again tomorrow. To me, that's what this card represents. So I'm going to hold that up for you one more time. And then our last pull is Hecate Claudius. So I'm going to hold that up. So the key words for this are knowledge, skill, and answers. And when we think about this for a second, Claudius is the key. It unlocks, right? It unlocks that knowledge. It unlocks those mysteries. It opens up and gives us answers to what we're looking for. So when we're thinking about the future or whatever question you happen to ask for this pull, we know that the answers are there. We know that there is a key to this information. We know that we can get this information if we put forth that effort. So again, this is that making that move, understanding that you are the one in control of the situation. If you get up every day and say, oh, it's horrible, stupid Monday, I hate it, that's the day you're going to have, okay? Stuff happens, right? It happens. Things go wrong. You're going to drop the glass. It's how you react to that dropped glass that matters. You know, you can laugh, you can cry. It's up to you how you proceed with your day. So that is Hecate Claudius. I'm going to hold these cards up for you one more time. I do this on a regular basis, but I don't know how effective it is. So tell me, what do you think in the comments? Is this helpful to hold the cards up this way? Yeah, let me know. All right, so that's our pull for today. These are from the Crossroads Oracle, which is available on my website at hecatebremo.org. If you are interested in picking up a deck of these cards or the River Witch Oracle, you can get both of them there. If you want to support my work with the Blessing Box, what we talked about earlier, I have several downloadable ebooks. I have several pieces of I don't know, content, I guess it is. I don't know what it would be called. But I do have other items that you can buy on the website. I take special orders. I do readings. So if you find anything in there interesting that you'd like to do, please reach out, talk to me. I also take straight out donations. I'm going to do a shout out to two of my subscribers that actually do those. Now, I'm not going to say their names because I want to maintain their privacy, but you know who you are. Thank you so much for your donations that come in every month. It's much appreciated, and we do use those for purchases for the Blessing Box. So that's my talk for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Have a wonderful week ahead. I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a glorious day, and we'll talk soon.